Go ahead, Annette. Thank you, Annette. Hello, my name is Scarlett Tripsmith, and I will be your technical liaison today here at the Humboldt Unitarian Universalist Fellowship for our virtual UN service with the theme of climate justice. Now, just a couple housekeeping things. As you will see, you are muted. There will be a time during the service where we will go out into breakout rooms and you'll be able to talk and engage within this virtual realm. And as well in this virtual realm, if you would like to keep your videos on, we love to see everybody in our congregation and all your happy faces. So on top of that, we have Suzanne Kimmel here with who will be doing our joys, sorrows, and celebrations ritual. So if you want to go in the chat and send those to her, that would be great. Another short announcement just for the week coming up. If you are making ofrendas, please take a picture and send them to Leslie, and I'll put her information in the chat for you all. So thank you so much for being here. We have a beautiful service ready for you. And without further ado, I'd like to introduce Suzanne Kimmel for our chalice lighting and aspiration.
Thank you, Scarlett. United Nations Sunday celebrates the work of the United Nations and our Unitarian Universalist Office at the UN. Each year there's a focus for the UU office, and the theme this year is All In for Climate Justice, People, Power, Planet. Our presenters will share their stories on different aspects of what we are celebrating today. I'm going to start with some words before the chalice lighting from the book Braiding Sweetgrass, which is written by Robin Wall Kimmerer. They say that a prophet appeared with a strange and distant light in his eyes. The young man came to the people with a message that in the time of the seventh fire, sorry about that. A new people would emerge with a sacred purpose. It would not be easy for them. They would have to be strong and determined in their work, for they stood at a crossroads. The ancestors looked to them from the flickering light of distant fires. In this time, the young would turn back to the elders for teachings and find that many had nothing to give. The people of the seventh fire do not yet walk forward. Rather, they are told to turn around and retrace the steps of the ones who brought us here. Their sacred purpose is to walk back along the red road of our ancestors' path and to gather up all the fragments that lay scattered along the trail, fragments of land, tatters of language, bits of songs, stories, sacred teachings, all that was dropped along the way. Our elders say that we live in the time of the seventh fire. We are the ones the ancestors spoke of, the ones who will bend to the task of putting things back together, to rekindle the flames of the sacred fire, to begin the rebirth of a nation. With these words, I will light our chalice, which is here. Please join me in saying the words of our aspiration, which will be on our screen. May love be the spirit of this fellowship. May the quest for truth be its sacrament and service be its prayer, to dwell together in peace, to seek knowledge and freedom, and to help one another in fellowship. This is our aspiration. Please stand as you are willing and able to join in our hymn, Blue Boat Home. The lyrics will be on your screen with the video.
Standing on these mountains and plains, far away from the rolling ocean, still my dry land heart can say, I've been sailing all my life now, never harbor or port have I known. The wide universe is the ocean I travel, and the earth is my blue boat home. Sun, my sail, and moon, my rudder, as I ply the starry sea, leaning over the edge in wonder, casting questions into the deep, drifting here with my ship's companions, all we kindred pilgrim souls, making our way by the lights of the heavens in our beautiful blue boat home. thanks to the waves upholding me. Hail the great winds urging me on. Greet the infinite sea before me. Sing the sky my sailor song. I was born upon the fathoms. Never harbor or port have I known. The wide universe is the ocean I travel, and the earth is my blue boat home. The wide universe is the ocean I travel, and the earth is my blue
This service creates an opportunity to share our joys and sorrows with each other, making burdens lighter and joys brighter. I will place a stone and read these in my chat. From Suli Mossman. Our hearts and thoughts are with a family of Kathy Leith, who passed away early Friday AM. I'm sorry if I misspelled her name or pronounced it. She was the founder of the Redwood Children's Chorus and former member of the Huff. From Kate McLean. Thank you everyone for your kind get well cards, emails, text, delicious meals, rides. I am regaining my coordination every day, inch by inch. I so appreciate all your kindness and concerns. Love you. Love you, Kate. Those are the only two that I have to share. So I'm going to put in a stone for all that lies quietly in our hearts. Oh wait, I have just a few more. From Kim Tripsmith. Blessings to our friend Della Mustasha, who crosses over in a car accident last Sunday. She was an amazing person and a great performer. Thank you, Kim. Here's a stone for Della. And from Linda Alm, still hold my sister Christine in your hearts. So stone goes for Christine. Thank you, Linda. We will now have a moment of silence that will be followed by a time of reflection with our wonderful pianist, Annette Hull, providing the music for our time of contemplation.
Hi, this is Allison Bronkel, and the wise and beautiful book that I will be reading for the story of all ages is called We Are Water, Water Protectors, written by Carol Lindstrom and powerfully illustrated by Michaela Goad and published by Roaring Brook Press. The author is from the Turtle Mountain Band of Ojibwe and born and raised in Nebraska. The illustrator is of Tlingit descent and is in the Tlingit and Haida Indian tribes of Alaska. Water is the first medicine, Nokomis told me. We come from water. It nourished us inside our mother's body, as it nourishes us here on earth. Water is sacred, she said. We stand with our songs and our drums. We are still here. The river's rhythm runs through my veins, runs through my people's veins. My people talk of a black snake that will destroy the land. Spoil the water, poison plants and animals, wreck everything in its path. When my people first spoke of the black snake, they foretold that it wouldn't come for many, many years. Now the black snake is here. Its venom burns the land, courses through the water, making it unfit to drink. Take courage. I must keep the black snake away from my village's water. I must rally my people together. To stand for the water, to stand for the land, to stand as one against the black snake. We stand with our songs and our drums. We are still here. It will not be easy. We fight for those who cannot fight for themselves. The winged ones, the crawling ones, the four-legged, the two-legged, the plants, trees, rivers, lakes, the earth. We are all related. Tears like waterfalls stream down, tracks down my face, tracks down my people's faces. Water has its own spirit, Nokomis told me. Water is alive. Water remembers our ancestors who came before us, she said. We stand with our songs and our drums. We are still here. We are stewards of the earth. Our spirits have not been broken. We are water protectors. We stand. The black snake is in for the fight of its life. And at the end of the book, there is an earth steward and water protector pledge. Thank you.
Thank you, Allison. And another short reading from Braiding Sweetgrass by Robin Wall Kimmerer. The seventh fire prophecy presents a second vision for the time that is upon us. It tells that all the people of the earth will see that the path ahead is divided. They must make a choice in their path to the future. One of the roads is soft and green with new grass. You could walk barefoot there. The other path is scorched black, hard. The cinders would cut your feet. If the people choose the grassy path, then life will be sustained. But if they choose the cinder path, the damage they have wrought upon the earth will turn against them and bring suffering and death to earth's people. We do indeed stand at the crossroads. Scientific evidence tells us we are close to the tipping point of climate change, the end of fossil fuels, the beginning of resource depletion. Ecologists estimate that we would need 7 planets to sustain the life waves we have created. And yet those life waves, lacking balance, justice, and peace, have not brought us contentment. They have brought us the loss of our relatives in a great wave of extinction. Whether or not we want to admit it, we have a choice ahead, a crossroads. Our speakers today come with a variety of experiences and knowledge to share their reflections on the role of Unitarian Universalism in the world, particularly around the United Nations and climate justice. They speak with a shared commitment to improving the world. We will be hearing from Slate Taylor, Ann Kilby, Sydney Bronkel, Savannah Taylor, and Sue Lee Mossman. Slate?
Hi, my name is Slate Taylor. I've been going to the Huff Church since I was a little kid. And so I've had a good bit of experience with the United Nations, learning about the United Nations through a program called Montessori Model United Nations. So I'm sure many of you may have heard of Model United Nations, which are programs which are popular in high schools and colleges around the country. A lot of those programs are sort of like debate. What I found really special about the Montessori program that I participated in is it was trying to emulate what we're really working for in the real world, which is working together. And there's no prizes for winning a debate competition through this program. The goal is to work together for a common purpose. Just like our real world, we're not, hopefully we're not working together for who can speak the best. We're working together to make the world a better place for ourselves and our children. And so, I was drawn to the program because I got to go to, see the UN building, but I've made sure to stick with the program since, going back as a leader, because I really believe in its values. I really believe in the values of the United Nations. I think it's very important that we work together for common purposes and try and work across borders of area, race, religion. So I think it's a very valuable program, and I think that the United Nations is very important. And I think that one telling factor is the United Nations is very supportive of the Montessori Model United Nations program I talked about. I've had the opportunity to go to the headquarters of the United Nations because they're very welcoming to, introducing youth to the world of debate and world politics, because I truly believe that the United Nations, there's a lot of good people there who are invested in the future, and they're invested in our world. I think it's a beautiful thing that we've been able to build as a planet, and I'm very thankful that I've been able to learn about it. And I think it's a great program and a great part of our world.
Good morning. I'm speaking on behalf of our fellowship's climate action group. We now call ourselves Climate Action Team. And I'm going to say why we do what we do. We're a diverse group of folks using our resources to do what we can to improve the future. So you can hear we're just folks. We're not superhuman. The task looks vast and we're few. You might wonder why we want to spend ourselves so. We answer each in different words that we need to do all we can in this effort. One reason we need to act is that we love. We love the beings, the plants, animals, communities of life all over the earth. We want them to continue. We love our own also. We want humans, people to continue, especially as compassionate and resourceful beings. Some of us are parents, grandparents. Our group even includes 2 great-grandparents. And we want to do anything we can to love our children, grandchildren, great-grandchildren well, and to act for their best. Among us in the Climate Action Team, we have many skills and both general and highly technical knowledge and experience. All skills are relevant in this effort. We each in the group, we've said, we need to use our skills in this effort. We need to use ourselves. We need to put ourselves to good use. The task looks vast, I said before, but in other congregations, in communities all over the country, all over the world, we see like-minded people working on it. So the last why I'll mention is because we have others to work with too. We have companions, we have allies. We're counting on them and they're counting on us to show up. And we have committed ourselves and our capabilities to show up. So that's why. And let me say again, all skills will be needed in this effort. Please feel free to welcome, please feel welcome, please feel free to join us. Please feel welcome to join us in the Climate Action Team. And now we'll go to the hymn, "The Tide is Rising."
The tide is rising, and so are we. The tide is rising, and so are we. The tide is rising, and so are we. This is where we are called to be. This is where we are called to be. The task is mighty, and so are we. The task is mighty, and so are we. The task is mighty, and so are we. This is where we are called to be. This is where we are called to be. This land is holy, and so are we. This land is holy, and so are we. This land is holy, and so are we. This is is where we are called to be. This is where we are called to be. The storm is raging, and so are we. The storm is raging, and so are we. The storm is raging, and so are we. This is where we are called to be. This is where we are called to be. The sun is shining, and so are we. The sun is shining, and so are we. The sun is shining, and so are we. This is where we are called to be. This is where we are called to be. The world is ready, and so are we. The world is ready, and so are we. The world is ready, and so are we. This is where we are called to be. This is where we are called to be. This is where we are called to be.
All the time, I am constantly bombarded with the threat of climate collapse and the environmental crisis that's already manifesting across the world. As a younger person in America, I have my whole life to look forward to, and the 7-year deadline scares me now more than ever. Since I can't vote, educating myself and others is a good way to instill change, even if it's just on an individual level, and I hope to inspire others to use their voices and vote for the future of this planet. I was motivated to participate in the UU and the UN Intergenerational Spring Seminar, All In for Climate Justice, because I wanted to be a part of a community with like-minded people who are just as terrified of the future as I am. A lot of older politicians and ignorant people refuse to take climate change seriously and only care about how the Green New Deal will impact the economy. There will be no economy if we do not address climate change immediately. A lot of people do not want to accept this as a threat because it is easier to ignore. In order to deal with climate change in the most effective way, we need to unite. This should not be a left versus right issue. This affects everyone, no matter what your political views are. My main goal is to educate and unite as many people as possible to slow down the effects of climate change. Voting is one of the most important things that you can do. Our current federal government has proven its disregard for the climate crisis, which is why it's important to elect candidates who have realistic and beneficial climate policies, such as those who support the Green New Deal, advocate for clean, renewable energy sources, and stand up for people and communities of color who are disproportionately affected by climate change. These candidates are one of our only hopes at slowing down the effects of climate change before it's irreversible. Another way to help is to hold major fossil fuel corporations accountable for their actions. According to the Carbon Disclosure Project, 100 companies are responsible for 71% of carbon emissions. Some of these include corporations with locations in Humboldt, such as Shell and Chevron, and as consumers, it's important to be aware when supporting them. While it is up to each individual person to reduce their carbon footprint, these companies cannot continue to pollute our environment with no accountability. That being said, we should not totally ignore our own contributions to climate change, but instead prioritize the regulation of these major corporations. I know most members of the fellowship take climate change seriously and support raising the voices of youth. I understand it often feels like no matter what we do as individuals, we cannot make a difference in slowing down climate change due to major corporations, which are the main causes. If everyone decreases their carbon footprint and votes for the planet, we can make a difference. I encourage all of you to vote and do your research to determine who supports the Green New Deal and who will actually address climate change instead of ignoring it. It is a tragedy that climate change has become a political topic instead of just a disaster we need to address. I have been having hard conversations with my conservative family and friends to try and educate them on what is happening to our environment. There's a lot of ignorance that exists in the world today, and I urge you all to have those difficult conversations with family and friends and spread as much awareness as possible. This is an urgent matter, and with everything going on in the world right now, it is easy to forget about. Climate change is not slowing down, and it will continue to impact our Earth if we do not make immediate changes.
Thank you, Sydney and Savannah. The UUA has had an official non-governmental office at the UN since 1962. In its work at the United Nations, the UU office strives to affirm and promote the values expressed by our 7 UU principles. In particular, the first, the inherent worth and dignity of every person, and the 7th, respect for the interdependent web of all existence of which we are a part. Because the work of the United Nations impacts every corner of the planet and focuses on a broad range of global issues, it's important that UUs have a strong presence at the UN to help shift global policy on climate change to include UU values of human rights, peace, and justice. As the theme of today's service is all in for climate science, people, power, planet, I will share how the UU office, or UU at UN, works to support the UU climate justice movement. For example, there is the Climate Justice Initiative, whose goal is to build the UU climate change movement through education and advocacy, and to promote and collaborate with other climate change voices at the UN in promoting a viable world future. As an example of this collaboration, the UU office has collaborated with the Canadian Unitarian Council to bring UU values to the United Nations 2030 Agenda for Sustainable Development. This agenda includes 17 goals whose long-term vision is very much reflective of our UU moral, ethical, and survival imperative to ensure ecosystem health, livelihood, peace, and justice. However, without a long-term solution to human rights concerns, we will not be able to effectively deal with environmental and climate justice issues. Climate is interconnected with the many social justice and environmental issues reflected in the themes of the 17 goals. Some of them are health, gender equality, clean water and sanitation, employment, decent work for everyone, clean, affordable energy, reduced inequalities, and so forth. While important, local efforts will not be enough. Global action, coordinated by the UN, is needed, and is where a UU at UN presence is also needed. Prime examples of where our UU values have been brought to the United Nations and have had global impact is the creation of the Paris Agreement, and through agencies such as the Intercontinental Panel on Climate Change, which gave us the 12-year warning that if we don't get our act together, our planet is no longer livable as we know it. Also, the World Health Organization, which brings countries together to address health issues, as for example, our current COVID-19 pandemic, and many other agencies, through which the UN provides accurate, scientific, evidence-based information, separating fact from disinformation. We UUs recognize that all life is interconnected. Creating a sustainable way of living is central to our UU view for a just and compassionate world. The UU at UN lives out these values by partnering with indigenous and underprivileged communities who are impacted the most by climate change and who have the fewest resources to recover. The UU office looks to and collaborates with these marginalized communities for their knowledge, their wisdom, and their experience, which are needed for just and equitable solutions that result in sustainable change. In recent years, the UU office has prioritized obtaining passes for Indigenous and underprivileged frontline activists to attend conferences from which they are often excluded, so that their perspectives can be heard at the decision-making table. The UU at UN is also associated with the UN's Department of Global Communications. As such, the UU office helps to explain and gain support for the United Nations mission in the world. To achieve this, the UU office has educational programs for our congregations that include the Envoy program, where our congregants were actually adults of any age adults can act as liaisons between their congregations and the UU office. Also, the summer internships and academic internships in New York, the annual UN Sunday, for example, today, and also the annual intergenerational spring seminar, and there are other programs. For me, after attending a few of the virtual sessions of this year's intergenerational spring seminar, I felt hopeful and optimistic to see UU youth and young adults learning about and being excited for the theme of All In for Climate Justice. They were organizing, collaborating, and taking leadership roles. As in the song we just sang, the task is mighty. But I, like Joanna Macy said, have an active hope that there's a readiness among UUs of all ages to engage. And now, dear friends, we can start engaging today, right now, and support the UU at UN. The UU office relies on the donations from UU congregations, so all of today's collection will be sent to support our work at the United Nations. In this time of health and climate crises, increased nationalism, and with US officials at the UN actively working to remove protections for human rights and for the environment, it's more critical that we have a UU voice at the United Nations. We can put our UU actions, we can put our UU values into action at the United Nations by donating as generously as we can to support the UU office. Our gifts will truly have a global impact. Thank you.
Welcome back, everybody. How we doing? Welcome back. I hope that was fun for everyone. If you'd like, we do have a little bit of time if anyone would like to share something that they came up with in their group, something that they feel like would benefit the whole congregation. If you want to just put your name in the chat or just say, hey, me, I'll spotlight you and feel free to share. Anne. All right. Let's go. Sorry, guys.
Okay. First thing, the time was very, very short. It was difficult for us. Yeah, okay. I see Chip says the same. We focused on the decreased carbon footprint aspect, and our remarks went from completely eliminating certain paper products from the household, paper towels, toilet paper, Kleenex. Turned out that there are some really, really good alternative solutions that actually perform better than disposable paper. And then on the other end, this is the principle of moving your money, moving your investments, moving how you use money away from, for example, Chase Bank, getting rid of a Chase Bank credit card. They invest very heavily in fossil fuels and allied problem industries, and finding a different source of credit that relates to investing in such things as student loans. So that's what I have to say. Now you could move on to someone else.
Thank you so much, Anne. And Joanna Welsh, let's go with you.
Well, we spoke about, how eating a non, like a vegan or vegetarian diet or moving to that is so important, because cows are basically killing the planet, and so many things that we can each do. Some of us have solar on the roof and electric cars and doing all that we can. So basically, just to drive less or, everything you do. That's basically what we talked about.
Fabulous. Thank you. And Chip, I see not enough time for sharing. And Joanne Huffman nagged about favorite topic, which is public transit, and tried a workable way to keep our carbon use down. So that was lovely. We are running on that time of things, so I'm gonna cut this sharing a little short, but I'm going to transition off to Suzanne right now. So thank you all. I'm taking in your feedback about the breakout rooms. Next time, I'll definitely be sure to make sure that they're longer. Thank you for your feedback. Okay, and to Suzanne.
Thank you so much, Scarlett. Before I'm going to do the closing words just for the extinguishing the chalice. Again, these are from Braiding Sweetgrass by Robin Wall Kimmerer. What does it mean to be the people of the seventh fire? To walk back along the ancestral road and pick up what was left behind? How do we recognize what we should reclaim and what is dangerous refuse? What is truly medicine for the living earth? And what is a drug of deception? None of us can recognize every piece, let alone carry it all. We need each other to take a song, a word, a story, a tool, a ceremony, and put it in our bundles. not for ourselves, but for the ones yet to be born, for all our relations. Collectively, we assemble from the wisdom of the past a vision for the future, a worldview shaped by mutual flourishing. Our spiritual leaders interpret this prophecy as the choice between the deadly road of materialism that threatens the land and the people, and the soft path of wisdom, respect, and reciprocity that is held in the teachings of the first fire. It is said that if the people choose the green path, then all races will go forward together to light the eighth and final fire of peace and brotherhood, forging the great nation that was foretold long ago. And so I extinguish this flame, but not the light of truth, the warmth of community, and the fire of commitment. So if we reach out our hands to each side of our square so that we can be holding hands together. And then so Scarlett, is it this where we go from here in peace? I feel I'm Shalom, salam alaikum, blessed be. Okay.
Blessed be Ashe Aho.
Aho. Amen.